Yeah, thank you. I'm Greg Ewings from Cootamundra Shire Council. This project we went in, we're heading towards where James has got to. Our little project started in 2011 as well as a group of 4 councils got together to see if the feasibility to have a regional organics processing plant would fit into our area, which included went too far there. 4 of the REROC councils, so with funding from REROC, the EPA, or Office of Heritage at the time, Environment Heritage, and the 4 councils, we combined to agree to start a trial for full organic waste and processing of that for compost. The system worked. All the 4 councils had 200 bins put out in each of their community, and they selected the runs. Some of them targeted areas, some of them didn't, but that all the picked up material come to Cootamundra. It was carted onto a site that was developed for the trial, and it was done with very little input, really. And I think the setup of the pad and the equipment used was just over $10,000, about 11, and overall, I think the trial cost over the 6 months was about $82,000 for all the councils with all inputs and outside costs. Sorry. So yeah, the processing facility was pretty already in our waste site, and it was just prepared by us at Cootamundra, and it was a pretty easy mix because Coolamon and Junee used a similar contractor, the same contractor, and the Coolamon truck, 60 k's from Junee, went through Junee to come to Cootamundra, and Gundagai was 50 odd k's down the highway from Cootamundra, so they just come up with self-carted. Our truck was obviously in town. We had full weighbridge facilities and everything on site ready to go pretty much. It was a good site to do the trial. What came out of it was, well, you can see what happened there. The 200 households were all chosen. Public engagement in small towns, it's going to be interesting. There's another one about engaging your community. We live in small communities. The town's all of different sizes, and they didn't have many bins overall. So Coolamon had 1,400 curbside services, Cootamundra 32 or nearly 33 at the time, Gundagai only had 820. So we're talking very small communities, Junee 1,700. So to get 200 households from each of those was a good representation to see how this was going to go. And we rolled out the green bins for 200 of each houses in all the 4 areas, and the household caddies, and we engaged, door knocked and spoke to every participant, which really got the word out there. And talk about engaging small communities. As soon as you do that, everybody knows each other in these towns. Straight away we got more phone calls on how come I didn't get a bin, than what's going on with these green bins. So it was it was an interesting process. So the first collection was in August 2011, and we got about 6.8 tonnes. And you can see, not only is my slides not as good as James, but our equipment was nowhere near as good as James there. The old 930 loader is no longer there, we've upgraded. So, and very similar process, spread out, picked, inoculated there, but covered with plastic. We made sure temperature was reached, 55 degrees for 3 consecutive days. We did get it tested for the AS 4454. Didn't quite meet it at the 16-week mark. We got it tested at the 20-week mark. We did have to apply water at the turn stage, but you can see the difference from those ones to, that was the initial, to the turn. It's already well on its way, and it comes out very well. Same thing with contaminants, very important. James went through that. We didn't get very much at all. We got 960 kilos from the whole trial, from 6 months, from the 4 shires. So that was very good. We're pretty pleased with that, and I think that's largely due to the amount of engagement we have with the public, with the community, and the keenness they took it on. They really wanted to own it. As I said, everybody wanted to be involved, and it was hard to hold the community back for 6 months, saying, wait and see. Following on from the trial, this is where it gets a bit more important, I guess. What was determined is, I guess, really the reasons behind why you want to do it. Obviously, it's a good thing. Country areas, our soils are pretty depleted out there. Our natural soils aren't as good as some coastal soils, ANL and all those. We have to buy soils in to do a lot of our work. So, the motivation to do a composting thing is a big thing for a council. If it is community driven, do they want it? We found they all did. Actually, I think every community in Rerock wants it. Is it cost? Are you trying to save a buck? Does it cost you more to cart the stuff away or treat than to do it this way? Or is it another saving as in space, which is also a cost, I guess, when you're talking landfills? So I took it initially as we needed space. We had green waste shredding. Apparently we're a very leafy town. We get about 5,000 cubes of green waste material after shredding annually. And we spend a fair bit of money on treating it that way, and it was shredded and just used to be stockpiled. So when I went into the job in Cootamundra about 5 years ago now, we had a legacy of probably 50,000 cubes of pre-shredded tree and leaf litter on site that had been gradually turned and self-composted. And the initial part of that, probably the 10-year-old stuff, material, was fairly heavily contaminated, so it was a bit of a problem. This for me was a way to see how I could also blend that back into the system and treat it through to get rid of that and hopefully have a market at the end. Yeah, as I said, public loved it. We had close on 70% presentation rate throughout it, and it's been very good. But following on from that, the cost, the results of that, I'll go through. Each council has gone their own way with it. The Gundagai and Cootamundra continued the trial for a full 12 months, so we had a full 12 months worth of data. Coolamon pulled out after 9 months, and Junee pulled out after 6. So in the end, that was handy because we didn't go over the 200-tonne threshold for exemption, which was very good. And since then, at Coolamon, straight away after 6 months, they loved it. Smaller community. I think Tony was going to get his head chopped if he didn't bring it in, so it was implemented all at their cost. Cootamundra, we pulled out of the trial, evaluated the figures. We were going to be left with a burden. We were going to go well over the 200 tonnes, and we were still trying to handle what we had. So a full FOGO wasn't introduced, although a green waste surface was, and it has now been running for over 12 months, and it has not changed the amount of green waste we're receiving. So the self-hauled has dropped, but obviously picking up in the bins. Gundagai, as well, sat back, didn't implement straight away, although they have now committed to implement and have got funding in the second round of the FOGO funding, I think, and due to be implemented early in the next financial year. And Junee have had many staff changes over there since and have really dropped the ball. I'm not sure if they've moved any further at all. So I guess, in summary, you've got to trust your community and the reasons behind why you want to implement something as large as a green waste service. I think environmentally, obviously, a great thing to do, but sometimes that's just not the driver that's going to get you home. You've got to get all players involved, and if they're heavily enough involved, and if you can see the benefits and you convince the council, whether it be space, whether it be the result or use of the material, which those 3 smaller councils all use every bit of material they did get out of that trial, they use on site and on their own works. Coolamon and Gundagai intend, or Coolamon are doing that and using it on their ovals and parks and on their street works, and we will be doing the same. We've got about 5,500 cubic metres of the blended old stockpile and new waste in that is just meeting standard now, and it will be used on a ground lift that we need. It's got a positive water table. We need to lift it to put drainage in. So we're stockpiling soil for use ourselves. We're lucky, and the reason why it hasn't been fully implemented yet is we've also had a soil remediation private company come in and lease part of the waste site just below the site. They have been purchasing our seconds for a reasonable fee to use as cover material in their remediation process. So also got a benefit there. So there's win-win. Anyway, that's about where we're at with it. So thank you very much.